The Halo TV series is almost upon us, and Halo fans everywhere are divided on the material and trailers shown to us. The lore has changed, and the timeline is simply different. But could this maybe benefit the Halo series, or could it just scare new and existing fans into a different series entirely? Well, let's dive into the details and uncover the pros and cons to the Halo TV series. As a long-time fan of Halo, I myself am very skeptical of the show. I've loved Halo for as long as I can remember back when CE first came out, and there was plenty of reasons why I fell in love with it. So, will the TV series be able to do the same? I think the harsh reality is that it's rather unlikely, but the show could still bring along some great additions to the series. So, one of my first pros is actually the designs. Looking at the trailer, my eyes was instantly hooked at this shot. Spartan Soren in his Mjolnir. This is the most unnecessary and yet coolest design I've ever seen on a Spartan. If you don't know, Mjolnir armour keeps your body very comfortable and it handles body heat better than any kind of clothing. So why does he have a jacket on top of his armour? It's pointless, but it's cool, so fuck logic. This is a pro, because if 343 go with it, they could potentially start adding clothing additions such as jackets and maybe cloaks and capes atop your multiplayer Mjolnir too. I'd love to have like a Mandalorian cape over my Mjolnir armour. I think that'd be really cool. It's a cool design and one I really want to see more of. One of the cons, however, is a rather obvious one, but I suppose it could be a pro depending on how you look at it. The addition of the AK-47 rifle, or Kalashnikov, or whatever you want to call it. In lore, it makes sense because technically they do exist in Halo lore. However, this weapon during the Halo TV series is nearly 600 years old. It would be like trying to arm the modern military with muskets. It's just a little silly. I suppose looking at these resistance fighters, it makes sense that they're using whatever they can, but these things would literally be in museums and rather hard to come by. This to me just seems like either laziness or a lack of budget to make more 26th century props. But it's not the only time we've seen a rather old and, shall we say, modern weapon making it into Halo. During the Halo novel Shadows of Reach, a Desert Eagle is actually used and even pointed at the Master Chief, but if you want to know more about that story, you're gonna have to pick up the novel yourself. Anyway, moving on. New Spartans. This is definitely, for me, a pro. I love the Spartans and all the different classes there are, but the best part about them is their personality. Unlike Master Chief, these new Spartans can express emotions and personality, because unlike Chief, they seem to keep their helmets off for certain portions of the series, as shown in the trailers. It shows us more insight to just exactly what makes the perfect soldier and how they work together. Now, we've seen Spartan teams before, but it was always during battles. With the TV series, it should give us a different perspective into the actual people behind the armour, and show us just exactly why these Spartan 2s were chosen for their genetics. The voice actor for Chief has immediately thrown me off the character. It simply isn't Chief. And before people start typing in the comments that I can't expect it to be the exact same, I don't care, fight me. Halo's Master Chief is and always will be Steve Downes, and I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm sure the voice actor is great and all, but Steve Downes is Master Chief, and this is a hill I am absolutely willing to die on. With it being a new and different timeline though, I suppose I have to keep my thoughts open. There's no point being pessimistic about a series I hold dear to my heart. Spartan Soren. I love the idea of Spartan Soren being flushed out as a character. His backstory is by far the worst out of all the Spartan 2s, and when he finally gets through his augmentations, it doesn't fully go to plan. If you don't know, Soren's mother died when he was a child because his stepfather at the time refused to help with her medical issues. She died, and as a result, Soren attempted to kill his stepfather, but it didn't quite go to plan. Soren then ran off into the wilderness that surrounded his family farm and lived alone for weeks. Eventually, his dad caught the same illness that his mum had and also died. Soren buried them both. He was eventually found by Halsey at just 6 years old and conscripted into the Spartan 2 program. At age 14, he went through the augmentation process that didn't completely go to plan, leaving his body stronger than most, but mangled. At some point, he actually fights Spartan Randall, who was in his full Mjolnir at the time, and knocking him unconscious. But if you want to know more, then you're gonna have to do the research yourself. One of the best sources for Soren would be the Halo novel Halo Evolutions. The pro though is that we get to see more of this character, and he might be different in the Halo TV series, but it's still going to be a compelling story nonetheless. My guess is that he is without a doubt going to be a bad guy in this story. Maki. This character in lore perspective and my perspective, also including most of the Halo community's perspective, is fucking stupid. The Covenant, if you don't know, have a pretty massive grudge against humanity. A religious grudge, in fact. All because some wrinkly, wormy, ballbag virgin Sanshin didn't like the idea of not being the Forerunners' true Reclaimers. So, when they found out about another species known as humans being the Reclaimers, they decided to gather an army of billions from different alien species that they gathered along their spacefaring adventures, and either persuading them or forcing them to join their Holy Covenant and try to discover Forerunner artifacts that they believed were gods of the past. To put it simply, they were genocidal maniacs that were jealous of another species. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that in games lore, there would be absolutely no way in hell that they would allow an orphan child human to join their ranks. And before people start saying that it would be a tactical advantage for them, I completely agree, but it's literally against their religion and beliefs. It would be like asking a terrorist group to accept Western culture. It simply wouldn't happen. So this is a massive con to me, and it just contradicts their entire faith and beliefs. Anyway, let's move back onto a pro. The Rubble. The Rubble is a fascinating location. In the lore, it's rarely seen, and mainly in the novels, but its appearances are always a welcome one, for myself especially. It's basically a hideaway trading post filled with insurrectionists and pirate jackals. The place is lawless. So one of my favourite appearances this place has is actually in the Halo novel The Cole Protocol, in which a Grey Team member, Jai-006, is forced to confront a very gold, shiny, not so arbiter at the time elite, known as Fel Vadami. Both Jai and Fel struggled, grasping each other before another elite came to the future arbiter's aid and scaring off the Grey Demon. Could we see Grey Team appear here? Personally, I doubt it, but I have my sneaking suspicions that Spartan Soren is definitely going to be one of those characters to meld into the scum and villainy that occupy the Rubble. Okay, this one is rather fresh at the moment, and it's different, I guess. The Prophets, wow, what exactly am I looking at? Jokes aside, it actually isn't the worst they could have thrown at us, and although he looks like he's been hitting a blunt or two, it kinda is cool seeing the Sanshin brought to life. Let's just hope its characteristics are portrayed just as well as the video game series. Lore accurate Spartan abilities. Now this is a very, very cool pro, and it's one some of you might not have noticed. In one of the clips you can actually see what looks to be Silver Team sprinting, not just alongside, but past a Warthog. It's so damn cool that they've just decided to show this. It's insane how friggin' mad Spartan physiology really is. Their bodies are capable of so much, and most of the actual lore we don't even get to see in the video games, only hear about it in the books. It makes me super excited to see what else they could add to the series in terms of Spartan lore accuracy. Okay, this is a big one, and for me it's definitely a con. A lot of the Halo community seem to be split on the design that they went with, and I myself have a fairly firm decision on this. I do not like it. I understand that it's not all going to be the same as the games, and I've already accepted that, but Cortana is blue. Why did they try to humanise her? They're already doing it to Chief. It just seems way too much, and way too much change to one character. It would be like giving Chief a suit of JF4 armour instead of his Mark 6. It just doesn't make sense, and it's a rather radical and bold new design. But change isn't always a bad thing, I suppose. Maybe it will grow on me, maybe not, but I hope so. And let's end this video on a pro, in an attempt to stay positive and optimistic over the series. The old Halo movies were pretty bad, mediocre for Halo movies, but as actual action/drama movies, very dull. The budget they spent to create Halo Forward Unto Dawn was around 10 mil, give or take. However, the new Halo TV series has a budget of around 90 million. So with that kind of maths, I'm expecting it to be 9 times better than Forward Unto Dawn. Even though we've seen some either lazy or poor design choices, they've definitely put the work in this time. So that was all the pros and cons that I could come up with for the Halo TV series. There's definitely a few in there that I have a strong view about, but it's just me personally. What do you think? And was there any pros and cons you think I missed out? Well, make sure to let me know by slapping some of the keys on your keyboard into the comments section. I'm going to give a quick shout out to my 2 patrons, which are Virinif and Corporal Hot Pockets. If you would like to hear and see your names in the video, then go join the Patreon. It's just $5 and it's money I use to help feed my puppers. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.